Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
Every year I keep saying Father Time runs a really fast 40, and someday he's going to catch Tom Brady.
And Brandon Schultz.
I think in our capitalistic society, this could be a way to redistribute some of the wealth.
Go Hawks!
This is episode 204 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers. Joining me, my good buddy, Montana Seahawker Adam Emmert.
Hey, man, good to be with you today.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some football to talk about, maybe?
There's some. There's, phase 3 of OTAs is going on right now. It's just starting to feel that much closer to football season. Although, when we get to this time of year, we realize it seems close, but it's still so far away. Like June and July. We still have June and July.
Well, heck, we got all the mainstream media reports to talk about, all the unlimited diarrhea that comes out of their
collective publications. Yeah. And we find out that Russell Wilson has normal problems just like the rest of us.
He does.
Unlimited diarrhea. Unlimited.
That's my quarterback, man. That's my quarterback. And I feel his pain.
Yeah, turns out Russell Wilson has regular life problems just like the rest of us.
Yeah, so apparently his youngest and Great Dane,
youngest of 3,
they came home.
Yeah, actually, okay, let's set this up because here's the full clip of where this actually came from.
Okay.
After church, and you realize that your new Great Dane, we got 3 of them, right? So the little one, the little puppy, has pooped everywhere, all over his crate. I'd show y'all, but I don't want to scare you. Diarrhea, poop. Gotta take a little man to the vet.
Unlimited diarrhea. Unlimited.
Is this really what we're leading the show with? Is this the biggest Seahawks news from this past week?
It's hilarious. And not only that, but I can relate on a personal level. I once had a Great Dane who was a little puppy and had the same exact problem multiple times.
Yeah.
It was truly unlimited. So Russell and I now have something in common. And I really appreciate that. So, yeah, that's how I wanted to lead the show, with Russell Wilson's unlimited diarrhea problems.
Unlimited diarrhea. Unlimited.
I'm a child. I find this stuff funny.
If you don't laugh
just didn't
at
expect
Homer,
that we would lead this show with it.
Why wouldn't we? I don't know what else there is. What, do we want to talk about the idea that they moved Shaquille Griffin to the left side? Shocker.
And the other thing about Shaquille Griffin, named by Pete Prisco as one of his top 10 breakout players for 2018.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
What happened to Prisco?
I don't know.
Is he okay? Has somebody checked on Pete lately? Because if he has a Seahawk with in a list of good things, that seems like it's just a little out of character, and I'm worried for him. I'm very worried. Somebody should check on him.
We should. It always worries me that Pete Prisco is going to suddenly become like a Seahawks homer. And then that's going to completely ruin one of our segments. Although we did pick one back up last week when we were talking about Bruce Arians being on CBS. So that'll be something different.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to hate on Arians all season. It's like my third favorite pastime.
Yeah.
I don't know. We could have also led the show with CJ Prosise is now not a fluffy 225, but a solid 225.
Finally got out of the fluffiness of his weight and into more solid territory.
Yeah, according to his personal trainer, no longer fluffy, but solid. And so now he won't get injured.
Well, thank goodness.
That's what I read today.
Yeah. Thanks, Pro Football Talk.
It's good stuff out there.
Well,
that's all I'm saying. That's why I wanted to lead with unlimited diarrhea.
Yeah, because there's new rules out there. That's not exciting enough to lead with.
Actually, I do want to talk about that because I didn't get a chance to read those, and I was hoping maybe you'd explain a little of that to me.
I will explain some of that, and I also want to explain some research that I did over the past couple weeks. I wanted to look into, because there's a lot of statistical analysis out there about, the running game doesn't matter, running backs aren't important. The least efficient way to get down the field and score is by running the football. Mm-hmm. I wanted to look into something that's come up between you and I, Adam, and that's whether or not a running back can be successful, actually have a good amount of success behind a bad offensive line.
My guess would be if your name's neither Walter Payton or Barry Sanders, the answer is no.
Yeah, well, I couldn't go back quite as far as Walter Payton, but Barry Sanders was among one of the names that I discovered did have success behind a bad offensive line. But there's some other names too. Well, let's get into it right now because the hardest part is really finding out what's a bad offensive line. Like, how do you measure a bad offensive line, right?
Yeah.
Other than by the eye test.
Do you use pounds? Do you use inches? Like, how do you measure that? That's a good question. Like, do you use rankings? I don't know. I mean, but maybe it is just the eye test.
Well, I did find one set of rankings by Football Outsiders. They do a lot of those advanced type rankings. And one of the ones that they measure going back to 1997 is adjusted line yards. And just to give you an idea of where the Seahawks have fallen the last 2 years, they've been number 31 and number 26.
Sounds fairly accurate.
Sounds very accurate. It penalizes the offensive line for running backs who are tackled behind the line, and they get a little credit for the 1 to 4 yard or the 0 to 4 yard range for the offensive line, and then they really don't get any credit for long runs past 4 yards.
Okay,
which that makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, no, that does make a lot of sense, actually.
Well, good. Well, I went out and I found from 1997 all the way to present day. For the offenses that had the 10 worst offensive lines, according to adjusted line yards by Football Outsiders. And I wanted to find out which running backs finished in the top 10 for overall yards for the season. And I thought about, do I want to do yards per carry? Do I want to do yards per game? And I started looking at some of those, and I was getting guys like, Garrison Hurst was in there. For some of the early years.
Couple solid years for him,
solid years for him, but never finished an entire season, really. He was always getting injured. The running back for Minnesota, Smith.
Oh, Robert Smith.
Hell of a back.
Again,
but again, never really finished a season. And I thought, well, is this really the best measure? Because we've talked about how health is important to the success of a running back.
Yeah.
So that's why I went total volume throughout the season.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
All right, we're on the same page so far. We got down to the basics of your research here, and I think it's all on solid footing. I'm excited to see what you found out here.
Well, I do want to put it out there so people, because like any research, you want to kind of put it out there and go, okay, are my methods right? Because am I measuring the right way to get the right results?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to conduct an experiment to find out the truth of a matter, right? And this was your attempt at it.
This was my attempt.
It so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since 1997, this has happened 34 times. Not 34 different running backs. Some of the guys have done it more than once, but 34 times a running back has finished in the top 10 with an offensive line that's been in the bottom 10.
Oh, okay. So basically 34 times in 20 years.
What's that average out to? About twice a year then? A little less than that?
Okay, so there's a back to 2 a year that somehow make it work.
Yeah. Now, can you guess, of those 34 times, where do you think the distribution would be as far as where those running backs would have been drafted?
Thinking on that level, my guess would probably be the first or second round.
17 of them in the first round, 9 in the second round. So if you combine those two, it's 26 of 34. Only 8 times in 20 years has it been a running back that's been around 3 or later.
That's very interesting because, and the reason why my gut guess was that would be the case is because the back that can make it happen without any blocking whatsoever has got to be an elite talent.
Yeah,
it's got to be. Like you have to have some special measurables right out of the gate.
The very first name, 1997, a guy drafted in round 1, 18th overall. The adjusted line rank that he ran behind was number 30, last in the league. But he finished number 6 in overall volume of yards at the end of the season. Napoleon Kaufman.
Oh, wow. There's the name I completely forgotten about. And also, too, when you said 30th, last in the league, I was like, well, there's 32. Oh, there wasn't then.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was right after that where they went to 31 teams, and then I think 2002 was the break into 32 teams, right?
So Napoleon Kaufman, a bigger back, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And where did he finish overall in the league that year?
Sixth.
Okay.
So that's a pretty good season, right? Having the worst blocking offensive line potentially by my measure.
Yeah.
Finished
but
sixth.
A back that was maybe effective in his career for, 2 seasons?
Yeah, not one of these Hall of Fame type guys. Now, we're going to get into some names where you're going to start going, okay. Like in 1998, guy who finished fourth, guy who finished ninth, Barry Sanders, Marshall Faulk.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So in 98, that would have been Faulk's last year with Indy?
1998, that was his last year in Indy.
All right, well, that's impressive. So Barry and Marshall, that makes a lot of sense.
Drafted at, Barry was third pick overall. Marshall was second pick overall.
Mm-hmm.
And their line ranks those years, Barry was at 29 and Faulk was at 27.
Wow, okay.
1999, Ricky Waters. He was second round, 45th overall. 2000 and 2001, you had Corey Dillon do it back-to-back years. He was...
Corey Dillon, an underrated player.
A very underrated. There were a couple guys when I looked down this list where I go, you know what, that guy is underrated. And then where I looked at it and said, well, for example, Terrell Davis, overrated.
Yeah.
Those lines, I looked at those lines for Denver. They were top 5 for every year.
Orlandis Gary can come in and put up, big numbers, and Mike Anderson, and,
right.
Name that back, right? And then Clinton Portis was in there for a while. Like, it sullies it a little bit.
But guys like Corey Dillon and maybe some of these other names that we're going to talk about. LaDainian Tomlinson, another name in 2001, finished in the top 10.
An all-time talent. Okay.
All-time talent. 2002, Deuce McAllister. He was a first-round pick.
Man, he had about 2 years there where Deuce was the man.
Yeah.
I loved watching him play.
Yeah, Ricky Williams in 2003 did it. He was top 10 behind a 28th ranked offensive line.
Okay. Who else do we got here?
Now, and all those guys, first, second round picks. We finally get to our first undrafted free agent who did it in 2006. He was 6th overall, 23rd. So right toward the top of the bottom 10. But Willie Parker for Pittsburgh.
Oh, that was super fluky.
And Travis Henry did it in 2006 as well.
For the Broncos?
I think it was with the Bills because in 2006, and he was just barely top 10, and the line rank was 28th.
And that's before he decided
overall.
to quit the NFL to become a drug dealer, right?
Is that where he went?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Travis Henry who ended up in friggin' prison or close to.
That was his. So he started off in Buffalo, did 4 years, and then he did 2 years at Tennessee. That was his second year at Tennessee before he went to Denver.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Travis Henry went to prison or sentenced for 3 years for cocaine.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so Travis Henry's kind of an oddball. So, but probably the two biggest oddballs in here so far is Willie Parker and Henry.
2007 kind of goes back to normal. All three guys drafted in the first round. LaDainian Tomlinson, Willis McGahee, Thomas Jones.
Okay.
Matt Forte did it in 2008.
Why am I drawing a blank on Thomas Jones?
Well, up to that point, he kind of bounced around. He initially started off in Arizona, went to Tampa for a year, spent a couple years in Chicago. That's where I remember Thomas. I remember Thomas Jones more as a Bear, but he never really spent a whole lot of time with anybody in particular. 3 years in Chicago, then 3 years with the Jets. Finished off his career in Kansas City.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember him as a Jet. Wasn't that the year that Thomas Jones was high up in the rushing? Wasn't his coordinator Marty Schottenheimer? Or not Marty, but Brian Schottenheimer, yeah.
Well, that would have been, yeah. So this was 2007.
Yep.
That reminds me. So right now I'm reading through. Have you read Collision Low Crossers?
No.
It's a book about the, let's see, would it be the 2011 Jets? It was the year after they went to back-to-back championships.
Yeah, I would have no interest in the Jets of 2012.
Well, it's really interesting because a reporter kind of embedded himself after the playoffs. And so they're going through the whole, it takes you through the whole process of leading up to the draft, what happens after the draft, kind of preparing for the season. And, he sat in with the coaches on all the meetings, although he was primarily with the defensive guys. I was interested because of his trying to see what his interactions with Brian Schottenheimer was.
Interesting. Okay.
But there's not as much with the offense as he found himself more interested by the defense.
Well, that makes sense. They were defensive ball clubs.
Yeah. Back to the running backs.
Yep.
So 3 guys, all first round draft picks and bottom 10 offensive lines in 2007, 2008. Matt Forte, who was drafted in the second round, 44th overall.
Hell of a back. Yep.
2009, you have Steven Jackson and Cedric Benson. And Cedric Benson was kind of a guy who flamed out. But Steven Jackson, he showed up on this list a couple times.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. I could totally see that.
That Rams offensive line in 09 and 2010, not good.
No, not good.
Jackson did it in 2010. Chris Johnson was the other back.
Yeah, that's one of those fluky years, right?
He did it twice, though. He did it again in 2012.
I don't know. I guess a year or two of success tops, right?
He had multiple successful years. It wasn't just the 2,000-yard season that he had.
I always felt like he was drastically overrated.
I was surprised that he was on the list at all because of the way Football Outsiders accounts for, because you think of Chris Johnson and you think, okay, after he gets to the second level, he's made guys miss. It was just, he was turning on the afterburners. Right. And so I was thinking that, getting the tough yards, he wasn't a guy who got the tough yards. He was just a guy who would break away and rack up the yards that way. That the offensive line
wouldn't get a lot of credit in their rankings because anything past 4 yards doesn't really apply to them in that ranking system.
Right.
Maybe that's why that offensive line ranks so low because he was ripping off long runs and they really didn't get a lot of credit for that. But
they were getting credit for when he was getting stuffed.
Yeah, exactly. So that one seems like an anomaly to me a little bit.
Well, Michael Turner, another one of the fifth round.
Michael the Burner Turner.
5th round pick shows up on the list here. The first guy out of the 5th round. Again, in 2011, you have LaShawn McCoy, who shows up for the first time, and then Steven Jackson again.
Shady's a hell of a player.
He showed up on this list more than any other name.
Shady did?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Round 2, 53
He's the
overall.
closest thing I've seen to Barry Sanders.
So I didn't do all of Barry Sanders' years because it was 1997. It'd be interesting to see how those early Detroit Lions
how many years did he play?
Out.
8? Something like that? Yeah, well, whatever year he started. So however many years he played, that's how many years he would make that list.
Because the Lions had just atrocious offensive lines.
Yeah, their team sucked.
Yeah,
and he was awesome every year.
89, he came into the league, and his last year was 98. Consistent, too. Holy smokes.
Yeah, dude. Every year, he was awesome. Yeah. He was like 10 times better than Emmitt Smith.
His lowest year was 1993. He was out for 5 games, and he still finished with 1,100 rushing yards.
There you go. You know who would never make this? Make your little research here in your list?
Emmitt Smith.
Emmitt Smith.
Because he always had big offensive lines to run behind.
Yeah, he had some of the best offensive linemen in that era to run behind. Probably the best.
So where were we at here? We left off 2011, Michael Turner, LaShawn McCoy, Steven Jackson. 2012 was when Chris Johnson did it again. Again in 2013, you got LaShawn McCoy. And now Alfred Morris, 6th round back. 23rd overall is where the line ranked. He finished, 4th.
Yeah, had the one good year with the Redskins, traded to the Cowboys, whatever.
Frank Gore, our first 3rd round pick, shows up here.
Hell of a player,
okay. Yeah. 2014, LaShawn McCoy once again, and then you have Arian Foster as an undrafted free agent.
A very good player.
2015, Todd Gurley, 1st round pick.
He's okay.
Frank Gore once again, and then Chris Ivory, who was an undrafted free agent.
I've always kind of liked Chris Ivory, but a banger, right?
Yeah, he's more the banger of the guys who were down in Jacksonville, right?
Where he was.
Yeah, in 2015 he was.
Yeah.
Nobody did it in 2016. There were only 3 years where nobody did it, 2004, 2005, and 2016. But then in 2017, you have LaShawn McCoy again.
Yeah.
You got Melvin Gordon and Jordan Howard. And Melvin Gordon, 1st round pick, obviously. And Jordan
Howard drafted?
5th round, 150th overall.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, 2 guys from round 5.
So you said 34 dudes, right?
34 times it was done.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. The guys who have done it multiples were LaShawn McCoy, LaDainian Tomlinson, Steven Jackson, Chris Johnson, Corey Dillon.
So out of all those guys that you listed there, there's a few names that pop out to me as anomalies.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy that, sure, he got it done the 1 year, but then, from that point forward, their career wasn't much, or 1 or 2 years, very short span where they were a very good player. Willie Parker, Travis Henry, Thomas Jones, Chris Johnson, Michael Turner, and Alfred Morris are those guys to me.
Okay.
Well, and then you could add in Chris Ivory, Cedric Benson, Deuce McAllister, and Napoleon Kaufman in that list too. But I separated those 4 out, Ivory, Benson, Deuce, and Kaufman, because to me, if you're going to make up for a crappy offensive line, you either need to be hella elusive or super physical.
Yeah.
And Ivory, Benson, Deuce, and Kaufman were all 4 of those guys, very physical backs. They were pounders.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of more in the Marshawn Lynch style of things where, he's going to just run some people over. And so they were able to gain extra yardage just because of how physical they were. Then you kind of look at some of the other guys that did it over a long period of time. I mean, you're talking Marshall Faulk and Barry Sanders and Shady. I know Ricky Waters only showed up there once, but he was a very elusive.
Yeah, and that was toward the end of his career, too, in 99.
Right.
Matt Forte, you'd put in that elusive category, right?
Oh, absolutely. And one of those, a generational talent, LT.
Sure.
So basically what I'm getting out of this, to me, is you need to be one of the all-time talents of your generation, like a top 10 talent, or you need to be a bruiser. And then there'll be a couple anomalies in there that just pop up.
Yeah.
Travis Henry.
I was more interested though in the distribution, because that's kind of been the ongoing theme as of late, right? Not drafting guys in the first round or the early on in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But really, if you're going to find one of these players that can do well behind an offensive line that's
hot garbage,
right?
Right.
You need a guy that's in the first and second round generally.
Sure. Or you can build a good offensive line and then plug anybody you want back there. All of the Broncos for how many years there?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter. And you're going to pay those offensive linemen a hell of a lot less. You're going to pay a big time back.
I don't know. You got to pay. When you think about the Cowboys offensive line, how many of those guys are you paying? Sure, you can get away with 2 or 3 guys kind of being maybe on rookie deals, or
you pay 3 and you bring in veterans that are on close to minimum deals to fill the other holes.
Kind of what the Titans are doing right now.
Yeah.
So that's one way to do it. Or, I mean, I don't know how these guys, how players were paid on these teams generally with the bottom 10 offensive lines.
So to me, how this relates to the Seahawks is, do you think Rashad Penny, when we look back on his career, is going to be a guy who's a top 10 running back of this generation?
I don't know.
That's what the Seahawks are banking on.
It's a little bit early to know that.
Well, of course it is, but that's literally what they're banking on.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna reinvigorate this ground game, no matter what the hell this dumpster fire of an offensive line does, and put Rashad Penny back there, and he's going to be the guy. He's going to be a guy that pulls this all together. That's what you're banking on.
Well, you can also be banking on the idea that for now, having Dwayne Brown and Justin Britt, and you want one other guy to
and
be
Fluker, who's a good run blocker.
You want one of those other 3 to be one of the top 10 at their position, maybe. Because you could argue that Dwayne Brown, has been in the Pro Bowl. He was just there last year.
I think he's a top 10 left tackle. Yeah.
Justin Britt, really close to that top 10 area, especially 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's right in there.
So you need.
I mean, he could be anywhere from 8 to 13, probably, depending on your list.
And now you just want one other guy. I mean, Ifedi's not there yet. Posic's not there yet. Fluker hasn't been there.
As far as a run blocker?
Maybe.
Fluker's a hell of a run blocker.
As a run blocker. But if you're just talking, top 10. Okay. Well, Fluker could be there. He could be a top 10 in terms of run blocking.
Well, then maybe you got something.
Maybe.
Incorporate Russell Wilson into the run game a little bit. Maybe run some run pass options. Maybe do some stuff that's not traditional football and kind of, work outside of the box a little bit. Oh, wait, Brian Schottenheimer's our offensive coordinator. None of that's going to happen. Although it should give you some hope, though, with the idea that out of the 2 years that Brian Schottenheimer had a good running game.
Right. When he had Thomas Jones and a LaDainian Tomlinson.
Behind a crap offensive line. So, 10 years ago he did it. So I'm saying there's a chance.
Yep, there is a chance. 2006 to 2011, he was with the Jets as offensive coordinator. And a couple of the successful seasons. So it was with Thomas Jones and with LaDainian Tomlinson.
Right.
Now, obviously, Tomlinson, Hall of Famer.
But also towards the latter half of his career.
The last couple of years.
Emmitt Smith in Arizona type years.
Well, better than that.
Right, but that's the stage of his career that he was in.
After the Jets, Schottenheimer went to the Rams.
Right.
And I mentioned Steven Jackson had those 3 years where he was in the top 10 for rushing. So 2009, 2010, 2011, Steven Jackson was second in the league, eighth in the league, and ninth in the league, and had offensive lines that were 28th, 26th, and 30th.
Huh.
But then Schottenheimer showed up, and when did Steven Jackson leave?
Oh, he played for about as long as he could, really.
Well, I know, but did he play under Schottenheimer at all?
I don't know.
Well, Schottenheimer got there in 2012.
Okay.
And that was Jackson's last year.
Oh, okay.
Before he went to Atlanta.
So hard to draw a correlation there at all.
And that was, Jackson would turn 29 in 2012. And he kind of hit that 30-year-old wall that you see with running backs.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, not only that, but he was the bell cow for the Rams for so many years. Like, the only thing they had was Steven Jackson.
Yeah, I gained a little bit more respect for Steven Jackson after going through this exercise.
Oh, I always thought he was a heck of a player. No doubt about it.
Because he hit that 10,000-yard threshold. He actually finished his career with 11,000 yards. But it was... those yards were so tough for him. Like, that's like... Do you have more respect for a guy like Steven Jackson who had a lot of tough yards of running throughout his career and still got 11,000 yards? Or do you look at a guy with Curtis Martin who... He built up a ton of yards.
I love Curtis Martin.
Yeah.
I think incredibly tough player, really valuable, very, very solid running back. I've always thought he was a completely underrated player. I don't know if he'd be my comp. I mean, if I'm trying to think about it, do you have more respect for Steven Jackson or Frank Gore? Like, Frank Gore piled up a lot of those yards behind some 49ers lines that were pretty good there for multiple years.
Okay, maybe that is a better comp. Well, Steven Jackson will get a chance at the Hall of Fame before Frank Gore.
I don't think Steven Jackson makes Hall of Fame. I think there's an outside shot that Frank Gore does.
Just because the length of his career, maybe.
I don't know. It depends on your criteria. It feels like anymore the NFL Hall of Fame is more the Hall of Very Good. Like, if you're very good, you'll get in. Because I don't think of Frank Gore as one of the top 3 running backs of his era.
I know yards isn't a great measure, but hitting 14,000 yards, there aren't a lot of guys who have that many yards accumulated who aren't in. I don't think there'd be anybody.
And I watched him run all over us many times.
Yeah.
Freaking hated Frank Gore.
Let's look at career rushing yards. Frank Gore is at number 5 behind Curtis Martin.
Interesting.
Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Curtis Martin, Frank Gore, LaDainian Tomlinson, Jerome Bettis, Eric Dickerson, all guys with 13,000 plus.
Yeah, Frank Gore gets in I didn't realize he was that high on the career rushing yards list.
Steven Jackson at 18.
I mean, honestly, if I was starting a team tomorrow and I could draft either of those guys like day one, right, that they came into the league, I'd take Steven Jackson before I took Frank Gore.
I don't know if you're going to get an argument for me.
I didn't know if I would. I was just saying that's my thought. You don't have to. You can agree with me if you want. Like, sometimes we can play nice,
I guess the argument is you're getting more out of Frank Gore in the back end of the back third of his career, whereas Jackson. But again, does Jackson last a little bit longer if he's not so beat up?
Exactly. So,
well, it's an argument. I don't know if it's an interesting one, but
so maybe what we have for hope as a Seahawks fan when it comes to reinvigorating the run game this year is that maybe our stable of backs isn't exactly on the same level as Barry Sanders, Marshall Faulk, Shady McCoy, LaDainian Tomlinson, like those guys, right?
Yeah.
But maybe this year, this offensive line with Solari, the addition of Fluker, Postic getting stronger, a change in philosophy that way, and Schottenheimer, maybe that brings the line up enough to be average and the back to be average to just slightly above average, and then maybe you're cooking with gas at that point.
Yeah, we don't want an offensive line that's in the bottom 10 for adjusted line yards.
Hopefully not, It'd be nice. I'd like to see holes in the running game and pancakes. I want to see lots of pancakes.
Lots of pancakes, uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm going to be craving breakfast on Sundays, all the Sundays. Not just San Diego breakfast, but pancakes for breakfast. But Yeah, I want to see a lot of pancakes. And I want to see Russell Wilson in a pocket thingy for a lot of the season.
Well, I think there's people who are betting against that because Adam Rank of NFL.com has the 10 NFL streaks that will or won't be snapped in the 2018 season. This is list season.
Unlimited diarrhea. Unlimited.
Unlimited diarrhea. Unlimited.
Yes, it's list season, which means it's also unlimited diarrhea season.
Yep. That's how this will be referred to on the show from here on out.
So Adam Ranke did his list of 10 streaks that will or won't be snapped. Just to give you a little bit of a flavoring of some of the things that are on here. Because, you're reading through here. Nothing really stands out. Julio Jones has logged 4 straight 1,400-yard receiving seasons. Will it live? Yes.
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, Jones is pretty good.
I mean, I just worry about his health. That's all.
Joe Flacco has thrown 2 or fewer touchdown passes in 20 straight games.
Oh, that'll continue. He won't be starter by week 4.
That just seems like a weird one to put in there. But anyway, Chicago Bears have finished last in the NFC North for 4 straight seasons. Will it live?
Hell yes.
He says hell no.
Well, Adam ranks aren't real great.
So who are they going to beat? The Lions?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be the team, right?
I don't think Vikings or the Packers unless somebody gets hurt.
I mean, I guess if you're banking on the fact that Aaron Rodgers breaks his collarbone in week 2 this year instead of later on in the season like he usually does, then maybe, I guess. That's one of those teams that is being wildly overhyped. Like the example that the Seahawks are a underdog right now via Vegas, playing the Bears in Chicago. What was that, like week 3 or something?
Week 2, and they're even.
Sure.
Cincinnati Bengals have not won a playoff game since 1990. Will it live? Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Detroit Lions, 68 games without a 100-yard rusher.
That one's got to snap, man. Yeah, you know what? That one ends. That one ends with Matt Patricia there. Yeah. That one ends.
He says, I want to say no, but yes, it does end. Kansas City Chiefs have won 10-plus games in 3 straight seasons. Will that live? He says no.
Not with a second-year quarterback who's it'll be his redshirt rookie season.
Her coach isn't a miracle worker. Andy Reid does.
Yeah.
He can't.
Yeah, and they've lost dudes, in free agency this year. They're getting older. Mahomes is a chucker, man. I'm telling you.
Drew Brees, expect his 13th straight 4,000-yard passing season, says Adam Rank.
I would say no, and I think they'll have a lot of success again this year. They don't need Drew Brees to throw for that. I look for them to really concentrate on the running game and Alvin Kamara and
Mark Ingram once he comes back from suspension.
Yeah,
they can get it done on the ground.
Yeah,
and their defense is getting better too,
which is what you want to do if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, because you're going to extend Drew Brees' career that way.
This next one's gross. The New England Patriots have played in 7 consecutive AFC championship games. Will it live? He says yes.
Every year I keep saying Father Time runs a really fast 40, and someday he's going to catch Tom Brady. You can't stay healthy for a whole nother. There's no way. There's no way. Yes, it's broken.
8 straight AFC championships. No way.
No way.
Who's going to even win that division?
What, AFC East?
Yeah.
Patriots?
Probably. So they're probably going to have a pretty solid record because the AFC East still sucks. Right.
So let's say they get a first round bye. I mean, it's just, they run into another team that just happens to beat them like in an earlier round. I don't know which team that's going to be, because I feel like the AFC is just a lot of it could be somebody random like the Jags.
It could be the Chargers.
It could be the Titans. It could be, go down the list. Maybe the Raiders come back to life with Gruden. I mean, there's always that kind of unknown team that springs up, and I feel like that's going to be coming from the AFC this year.
The thing about the Patriots is they only have to win 1 game to get into the championship.
Unless Brady gets hurt.
The New York Giants haven't reached 30 points in 33 games.
That'll change. You'll get 1.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, they also drafted Saquon and
so got Eli and Odell.
Yeah, Odell back for a season. I mean, that should make a big difference.
Yeah.
The tight end's good too.
Everybody stays healthy. The Giants have a better year this year.
Yeah, they should have a better year. I don't think they're going to be world beaters, but I mean, they could be 5, 6, 7 wins.
And then finally, the Seattle Seahawks recorded 6 straight winning seasons. Will it live?
Of course it's going to live.
Adam Rank says no.
Is Russell Wilson the quarterback?
This is the thing that bothers me the most.
Is water wet? Of course it lives. Of course it lives.
Here's his reasoning. Instead of Russell Wilson and a supporting cast of who's who in the NFL, it's now a cast of who is that? The team got rid of big personalities like Marshawn Lynch. Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Wait, Marshawn Lynch isn't on the team anymore?
Newsflash.
They can't have a winning season without Marshawn Lynch.
No, not at all.
Oh.
He says, it's like when I saw Guns N' Roses at the Hard Rock in the 2000s. Axl was there, but it wasn't the same without Slash and Duff. Not that Rashard Penny couldn't be the Seahawks version of Buckethead or Robin Fink, but it's just a different feel. So maybe this team surprises and makes it to Paradise City. But it's so easy, not so much.
Here's the thing. This is how I know this is hot garbage.
Yeah.
Because the dude's into butt rock. That's the grossest music ever written, man. I can't stand 80s metal, man. Like, it is the worst genre of music that has ever been invented ever. I wish it would all go away and I never have to hear guys like the AC/DC guys scream into a microphone for 4 minutes at a time.
I just don't see how he relates Russell Wilson to Axl Rose.
I don't know anything about Axl Rose except for I don't enjoy your music, dude.
This is where
You're
we
into
differ.
butt rock.
We differ on this.
You like 80s butt rock.
It's all right.
It's okay. I've learned to understand that the only taste you have is in your mouth. Like I understand that's how it is.
I'm more into the 90s grunge than the 80s rock. So that's why I put Russell Wilson more in the category of Chris Cornell, who was awesome with Soundgarden and who was awesome with Audioslave. You can be awesome with different people.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
He's not Axl Rose.
Cast of characters. Well, and here's the thing, too. You got to ask yourself one quick question if you're doing this exercise. Do you believe Russell Wilson is a franchise quarterback or not? And maybe he doesn't think that. But if you think he's a legit top 5 franchise quarterback, then it doesn't much matter who you put around him. He will make them good. That's how you know if a dude's a top franchise type quarterback. And Russell Wilson has proven to be that.
We're kicking off list season in a bad way here.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, speaking of kicking off the season, we're going to be doing it a little bit differently this year.
Oh, okay. I was curious as to what changed here.
Well, the NFL has changed how they're going to, how kickoffs are going to work because they want to make it safer. They want to make it, they want to cut out some of these high-speed collisions. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting hearing some of the history behind it. I was listening to an interview with Tony Dungy, and he was talking about one of the last times there was a big rule change on kickoffs. It was in 1978, I think he said. You and I remember those late 70s very fondly.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that they used to allow cut blocks on kickoffs.
Oh.
And there were so many knee injuries that they said, okay, no more cut blocks on kickoffs. And Tony was saying, I could, as a 180-pound dude, I could go down and just, mow down a bigger dude by going at his legs.
Just going at his knees, yeah.
Well, they got rid of that. And he said, now guys, you have those big guys can just run down the field without having to worry about being cut down. And so that really sped up that play, made those collisions a lot harder.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So now they're taking away the running start. So for the kickoff team, they have to be on the line with the ball rather than the running start.
The kicking team or the receiving team?
The kicking team.
Oh, I see.
You don't get the 5 to 7 yard running start.
Okay, I was thinking like the receiving team. I was like, I don't understand. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay. And normally with the receiving team, you'd have 5 guys up front, then you'd have a couple other guys back, and then you'd have the single kickoff returner.
Correct.
Well, now you have to have 8 players within about 15 yards of each other.
Like the 50? Okay.
Because you have the guys kicking off from the 35.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the kicking team all lined up on the 35. One other thing that they did with the kicking team is you can only have 2 players outside of the numbers on the outside. So you can't to try and get around to try and keep kind of slow them down a little bit. Yeah.
I thought that's how it already was.
I don't think so. I think you could have 3.
Interesting. Okay.
So a total of 4 guys on the outside of either numbers. And then you have on the receiving team, You have 8 guys within a 15-yard range, starting at the 45 to the 40.
Okay.
So the thought is that they're going to be running with the other players as opposed to colliding.
Well, maybe, but also too, I mean, let's say the receiving team who is, up close to around the 50, right? It's going to be the receiving team's 45, 50-yard line is where they're more or less going to be.
Right.
Instead of running back with the ball, I mean, they may run dead at the coverage guys.
Right.
But at least that distance is shorter.
It's only 10 yards.
Right. So it'd be harder for dudes to get up to speed, and especially with the guys without the running start.
Right. So you have about 3 guys back. I'm just interested to seeing how, and one of the other things that they said, if the ball lands in the end zone, it's automatically a touchback. If a guy catches it, he can take it out. But
Correct.
if the ball hits the ground,
right,
it's an automatic touchback. So you won't see you can't recover it for a touchdown. If you say drop it in just the right spot and the team runs down and recovers,
which never happens.
It never happens anyway. But
so those are the changes?
Those are the changes.
Oh, okay. Don't hate them. I'm not sure I love them. I'll have to see it in practice, but they're trying something. I'll give them credit for that.
The other thing is no more wedge blocks.
That would make a big difference to me, I would think.
But I also think that and a wedge block for just to explain it is when you have one player coming down, you have the receiving team, you have 2 guys together, and they can go 2-on-1 on the single player.
Right.
And they're saying, okay, you can't do that anymore. It has to be 1-on-1.
Okay.
And I think this is kind of a little bit of an equalizer because the receiving team, I think, is going to have a lot better opportunity to return the ball now.
Right. Without the guys having a running start to get down there quickly.
Right. I think this is going to make the play more exciting, actually. The kickoff has been so bad these last few years where it's just automatic touchback. Automatic touchback. Guys don't want to bring it out. Mm-hmm. I think we could start to see more players bring it out now.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the actual result is. Because, for example, when they changed the rules last time, one of the consequences I didn't really put much thought into was the idea that teams would start kind of pooch kicking it and, just kick it just short of the end zone, but higher.
You see it a little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, that was something that kind of made it, more boring. I mean, a guy would catch it and he could only go 10 yards before, there's a bunch of dudes on him because the kicker had popped it up a little bit. So yeah, I'll be watching this because I don't know. There's going to be unintended consequences of this rule change that I'm sure that I don't have the foresight to think of, but I appreciate them trying something.
Right. Not just taking it away entirely.
Correct.
Because I like the kickoff. I wanted to see it stay. And this to me seems like a way to keep it. And I know anytime there's a rule change, people are going to say, oh, well, may as well put skirts on them. But
yeah,
this has been such a boring play as it is. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to make it more exciting. And
maybe they should think about putting skirts on them. They'd be a little flowy. It could be cool.
It could
have some new uniform design changes. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm not anti-skirt, I guess is really what it is. I mean, I don't own any for myself, but
no. Or could at least be, you could do kilts even.
Which are skirts.
For dudes.
Sure. I don't know why they're called something different. Like when a dude wears shorts and a chick wears shorts, they're shorts for both. I've never understood that about kilts.
I think because it's uniquely Scottish.
Right. So they just had to come up with their own name just to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's like
hey, you can't call them skirts.
Well, when when a woman wears a hijab, right? That's what you call it, and it's just a hood.
Yeah, kind of. I guess
with a scarf or a scarf
too. Yeah.
Right.
Be a scooty, like a scarf and a hoodie together.
Maybe it does need its own name. Maybe that's not a good comparison.
No, it's not. I don't think.
Okay. Yeah. I'll accept that.
It's a nice try, though. I appreciate you coming. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, one of the other rules that changed, and I don't know how much you want to get into this. I think it's pretty much been going nonstop in the media. So I don't know how much people, when we talk about the anthem rule change, it's the other rule that was changed other than the kickoffs. Any team personnel, players or otherwise, if they're going to be on the field during the anthem, they have to be standing. And if players don't want to take part, they are in the locker room, apparently. Has everybody pretty much heard all of the perspectives by now? And I mean, are we really going to change anything by discussing more about how we feel on this?
No, I don't know that there's a lot more to be said. I mean, I think at this point, everybody's wrong. I mean, even Kaepernick to a degree at this point. It's just become a circus, and everybody's kind of forgotten what the real point of it was to start with, and that's frustrating to me. But yeah, I don't know that.
Well, it frustrated Doug Baldwin too, because he came out in his press conference. They had their OTA press conferences on Thursday, and he talked about how Goodell was bringing this back to respect for the anthem. When, as Doug pointed out in the press conference, he said this was never about disrespecting military, never about disrespecting anthem. This was for one reason. This was because of loss of life in a community where we wanted to bring attention to it. And that was the message.
It pulls at the heartstrings. I can't lie. It was very emotional for me yesterday to read Roger Goodell's statement. Specifically the part where he says in the same breath that, it was disappointing that the narrative had been misunderstood, that our players were unpatriotic, which he stated was completely false. But then in the same breath, the next statement saying that, everybody will stand and respect, as if what we were doing before was disrespectful. Again, it pulls on the heartstrings because the demonstrations, the reason why we were even having the conversation that we were having was because there was a loss of life, and it's not, again, say what you will, was never about disrespecting the flag or our military or anything in that regard. It was about saying that the loss of life that was happening in a particular community, there was frustration and enough was enough. And and athletes, celebrities who have a platform to speak up for those who don't have a platform wanted to use their platform to do just that.
That was the whole point of the protest, but yet, everybody took it off the skis. I mean, and tried to turn it into their own personal thing. And even at this point, it's kind of Cap's own personal thing, right? Now he's kind of got this vendetta about being blackballed from the league and all that. And then you got the president and the vice president being all like, showboaty about this new rule change, as if they've won something, because it's all about them now too, and it's just ridiculous. And everybody's forgotten what the real point was. And it's just frustrating. But the new rule itself, it doesn't really seem to fix anything.
No, go back to last year. It was one of our big gripes about last year is that they weren't addressing the issue in the media. It was every week. It was, okay, this guy was kneeling. This guy was standing with a fist in the air. This guy was sitting. And that's about as deep as the media was getting with it, especially on ESPN from week to week. They weren't necessarily talking about the issue. And maybe that's why the message, why they continued to do it, is because maybe they were feeling like it was being lost, what their message had originally intended. And now this doesn't change anything either, because just as you had the list of people who weren't standing at attention, now you're going to have the list of people who decided to stay in the locker room, and that's still going to upset the same group of people who were upset about not standing for the anthem to begin with. If you consider kneeling before the flag disrespectful, isn't not showing up to participate in the anthem also going to be considered disrespectful?
Just like you said, there'll be the list of who is a no-show for the anthem, and you're going to have the same people that, in their own way, they made it all about them being offended because they didn't listen to what was being said in the first place.
There's a couple different ways that the NFL could have gone about it. If they wanted wholesale changes throughout the NFL, because another thing that we heard from the Seahawks, now it was after one day of the rule coming out, a lot of the news media are saying, well, what's the team going to do? Well, we don't know yet. We haven't really talked about it. But this rule just came out and it's not the NFL season yet. Right. But one of the things that Russell was saying is, well, in the past, we've always done things as a team. I would expect that we do things as a team. And so maybe as an entire team, they stay in the locker room if that's what they choose to do. Or maybe they all come out and decide to link arms again like they did the very first year. Now, whether that's seen as respect or disrespect in the eyes of the NFL, I don't know what they're going to feel about that. I don't see that as disrespectful either. But
I'm not sure the NFL really cares much about the respect or disrespect. What they care about is the dollars.
Right.
And that's the part of this that they made all about themselves, that side of it. Because every side has made this all about themselves in one way or another. And that's their way of making this all about themselves. The public backlash and the few less dollars they're going to get because of less viewership. The coward billionaires got scared because somebody in charge told them to knock it off.
Well, and that's the frustrating thing is that Doug Baldwin was saying in his press conference with this players coalition and meeting with Roger Goodell last year that they were so close that they had essentially this was becoming not as much of an issue anymore. The NFL said, oh, we're going to give such and such money to the players coalition to do all these great things with. And they'd pretty much come to an agreement, and it wasn't the issue toward the end of the season like it was early on in the season. And now it's bringing all this back up again. Right. When it essentially seemed like it was solved. And I think that's where part of Doug Baldwin's frustration was.
Well, just the idea of people sitting or standing, that's the issue being solved, right? Quote unquote. The actual issue that this was all about, excessive force by law enforcement, has not been solved. It has not even been addressed. Like, nothing has happened because of these protests. Nothing conclusive came out of this at all. Nothing constructive came out of this at all from any side.
The new rule, it seems unnecessary because it's not going to really change anything. You're still going to have the people that decide to stay in. Now, one of the ways they could have fixed it is they could have said, as the NFL, the order of operations on game day, one thing to do, you could altogether eliminate the anthem, I guess, from the pregame ceremony. It wouldn't. And
you know what? If they did that, I'd be fine with it. If they continue to play the anthem, I'm fine with it. I don't really freaking care.
Yeah, it's not why you go to the game. I mean, you go to concerts outdoors and they don't do the anthem before you watch the concert.
No.
There's lots of events where you go to where it seems like tradition for sporting events, right?
It's been done long enough. Yeah, it seems like, okay, that's just one of the things you do.
Right.
So if you want to keep it, fine. But if it went away, just to keep America freaking civil, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
It would be weird for a little bit.
It'd be one less thing that's in my way to kick off.
Yeah, it would seem weird to me, I guess, just until you get used to it. It was just like when I was in the military and watching movies on base. They played the national anthem before the movie, and initially, before the movie started, like before the, was it before the trailers?
Previews?
I can't remember if it was before the previews or after the previews. I think it was after the previews, before the feature film started. They played the anthem. Everybody stood up, and then you sat down. And at first, that seemed weird.
It is weird. Could you imagine, like, before every TV show that came on, like, the anthem played, and you're in your living room, you should stand up or something? Like,
a lot of people don't remember that the national anthem used to play before TV channels went off air. Now, TV channels don't go off air anymore.
I didn't know that was a thing.
You didn't know that was a thing?
No. So the last thing they would do before they tucked it in for a night would be play the anthem. Huh?
Because a lot of these the network broadcast channels, after, I don't know, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what time it was. Yeah, it was just nothing.
That's really odd. I don't know.
So there's things that we've done in the past that we don't do anymore, and that doesn't seem weird anymore, but yeah, I think the real solution would have been for the NFL to change just the order of operations on game day. If you're going to do the anthem, do it before the players come out of the tunnel, and then do the player announcements, bring them out, do the coin flip, and then kick it off.
And everybody lives and nobody dies. Like, that seems fine, you know?
But it also, like you said, it still doesn't solve the actual problem that players were protesting initially.
That's the frustrating part. I'm pretty much mad at everybody.
Yeah.
Nothing, like, we're not talking about the real issue anymore. We barely did in the first place. You don't have any coverage hardly of things like, I just read in the paper yesterday here in Missoula, one of the deputy sheriffs picked up some 20-year-old kid by his neck chain, choked the shit out of him. You can't be doing that, you know? Most law enforcement are great people. Great people. My brother-in-law's a police officer. My aunt, chief of police in Wyoming for years and years. But to a T, everyone that I've talked to, family members, whatever, They're like, yeah, the majority of us are great. And then there's those one or two dudes on the force where you're like, if they went away, that wouldn't be the worst.
That's you're describing not just police officers, you're describing every workplace ever.
Right. and that's it. And that's all the players wanted to have a discussion about is the dirtbag ones. And, but no, we're still all too concerned whether somebody sits, kneels, stands, stays in the back of the locker room out of disrespect for people they're not even protesting in the first place. So congratulations, everyone. This whole thing is a giant cluster. Well played.
And it's going to continue. So if you're expecting this to make it go away, this is still going to be a discussion point throughout the season.
Super duper frustrating, man.
In the media, I don't know about on this show, but
yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about this for a long time.
Yeah, I like to talk about football on a football show.
Exactly.
But there's important things too, like
unlimited diarrhea. Unlimited.
Glad we came back to that.
I mean, we have to.
Absolutely.
Watching Russell Wilson's press conference, and I'm kind of bummed that you haven't seen it yet because I think he's working on his press conference game.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the change, would you say?
I don't know if he's taken up cocaine or speed, or maybe
I bet you he's mixing meth with cocaine and snorting that to get like that real rush. I'm sure that's what straight-laced Russell is doing.
No, he just seemed he was using his hands more. He was a little bit more
demonstrative.
A little bit more engaging, I think, rather than.
Was he a little more loosey-goosey rather than robot answers?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. That's my quarterback. That's who I want to see. Give me the real Russell Carrington Wilson. I don't need robot answers.
No.
100 yards long, 52.5 yards wide. Same game I've been playing since I was a kid. Why not us?
Yeah, and we don't want Aaron Rodgers, who's like, blah, 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 mumble.
Rodgers is a whiner of the utmost degree.
Yeah, well,
every time I turn around, it's Rodgers, decrying something about the organization or whatever. I've yet to see.
Well, yeah, we didn't get rid of Jordy Nelson to sign Des Bryant.
Playing GM, dude, go out there and chuck the rock. Keep your shoulder in one piece this year. All right.
Yeah.
Why don't you concentrate on that, big boy? I thought he'd be taller. That's just in case he was listening. He hates that. Because technically, I think I'm taller than Aaron Rodgers.
I thought is he 6'2"?
He's 6'1".
Oh, that's it?
6'1", 6'2", yeah.
No, I thought he would be taller.
Yeah. So if you ever meet Aaron Rodgers and you want to get under his skin, say, oh, I thought you'd be taller.
That's good. I think that'll come in handy for
sure. Yeah,
so many of our listeners.
Yep. Yeah, when I bump into him and Danica Patrick.
Oh, is he with Danica now?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
And good for him. I saw an interview with her just recently, and I'd never listened to her speak for long periods of time. She's cool.
Oh, yeah. You didn't know that?
I thought she was all right. I didn't know, but she's like a legitimate cool person.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a couple interviews at least with her on Jim Rome, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I listened to her on the Joe Rogan podcast. And, she's like legitimately cool and too good for Aaron Rodgers.
All right, Adam, well, what do you say we get into the second half of our show?
Sounds like a plan, man.
Well, Adam, it is the off season, and it's kind of the time for fans to gear up for the 2018 season. So one of the things you can do, help support the show, get some nice gear for the upcoming season. You can go to SeahawkersPodcast.com/fan, and that'll take you to the Fanatics website, do all your Seahawks gear shopping there, and we get a little bit of a kickback. Doesn't cost you anything extra.
Yeah.
And you help out the show.
Sounds like you might be shopping for a Doug Baldwin jersey on there. Just before we got going today, you're like, I think I need me a Doug Baldwin jersey. And I'm sure that'd be a great place to find it there with the folks at Fanatics there.
Absolutely. And I read an article here recently that they're actually Fanatics is going to actually make the jerseys themselves now.
Really?
And it's kind of a deal that works out for them because then you don't end up with, say, I don't know, an overstock of thousands of TJ Hushmanzada jerseys. They can just make them to order for the players who are on the team.
Now they just need to figure out how to 3D print one, and then they're in business. Because then you don't even have to make them. You just hit print, and then you'd have a jersey.
Prints it right at your house.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be handy.
Yeah, get on it, Fanatics, and I want royalties when you make that happen.
Yeah, well, or probably the Jetsons too, because I think they came up with it initially.
Look, the George Jetson's not nearly as smart as everybody thought. Okay, all he did was sit there and press one button over and over again all day.
Yeah,
he's not a genius. He's not a genius.
He's the Homer Simpsons of the future.
Don't give Mr. Jetson, George Jetson, credit for my genius idea right now.
I was giving the creator of the Jetsons the credit.
I don't like that either, because this is my idea. Don't be giving away my credit to Hanna-Barbera or whatever the name of that production company was.
Either a Doug Baldwin jersey or some a cornhole set.
Yeah.
There's a Seattle Seahawks Rosewood cornhole game set.
That would be super sweet. I actually got a Seahawks cornhole set for Christmas this year, and just took it out to the cabin. It's ready to rock. I can't wait to have some people up there and kick everybody's ass. Yeah.
Seahawkerspodcast.com/fan. That'll take you to Fanatics and the Seahawks gear there. But cornhole's where it's at, dude. It's on ESPN now.
Now that's not that. Now you've gone too far. But yeah, I look. I played a lot of cornhole in my life. I'm pretty damn good at it. I love it. There's supposedly a cornhole league starting up here in Missoula.
Yeah,
that's something that's
appealing to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get involved in that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because the league just won't dominate itself. Somebody's got to go and do it. So I'm gonna go and get that done.
You dominated in curling, so why not cornhole? It's another sport-ish.
It's a nice game.
It's sport-ish.
Cornhole's a nice game.
Yeah.
Curling's a nice game. They're not sports. Golf, it's a nice game.
Not like Beersby.
Beersby's awesome, but not a sport. It's a nice game. NASCAR, not a sport. It's a nice game.
You like to differentiate between sports and games pretty distinctly.
It's really easy. Mm-hmm. If you can compete at the highest level in that competition in your 50s and 60s with guys who are in their 20s and 30s, it's not a sport.
It's a game.
It's a game. If you're Mark Martin and you hop behind a NASCAR car, race car, and go ripping around the track, and you're in contention for a championship at the age of 55, that's clearly not a sport.
Okay.
I mean, Michael Jordan went out there, close to 40, greatest player of all time in the NBA, and was getting, he was an average player at best.
So if LeBron makes it to 55 and is still dominating in the NBA, basketball will cease to be a sport.
Correct. Either that or human beings will have ceased to be human beings because now we have medical technology that makes you a beast in your 50s.
Yeah.
And that's probably not good. We're going to need to start colonizing some other planets because we're going to run out of space real fast if people are still awesome in their 50s and don't die till they're like 245, which sounds exhausting.
Well, now I'm cheering for LeBron to be dominating into his 50s just so it can be one fewer national sport.
It'd be interesting.
Well, we don't have any new members of the flock this week. Getintheflock.com if you want to help support us there.
The rare skunk.
I know we got skunked this week, but thanks. And after a 2-hour show, no less. I mean, I would have thought thered be maybe a little appreciation for putting out a little more than normal.
You would have thought that possibly, or maybe we got the feedback that we were looking for.
Yeah. Stop it.
Yeah, that's too much. Don't do that again. All right. No problem.
Fair enough. Getintheflock.com if you want to help support us there. And, I think I may have forgotten to put that out there in the last show, too. But I would think if you've been listening for long enough, you can go there and help support the show. Get some bonus episodes from time to time, especially once we get into the season.
So get after it, all you little flockers.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm caught up on patches, too. So if you haven't got your patch yet, let me know.
That's on the U.S. Postal Service at that point.
It's on them. Or you didn't tell me you wanted one, and then that's on you.
But what's important here is that you're awesome and none of it's on you.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm Bruce Arians in this regard. It's not my fault.
Absolutely. Wow. That's amazing.
We did get a piece of listener feedback from @RRyan911 on Twitter. Said, forget about wasting your do-betters all season. We need a weekly segment analyzing Arians analysis. Get a theme song like Prisco's World. It'll be great. Alternate titles, the Arians Breakdown, WT Catfish, Did Arians Say?
I love this.
This is right in your wheelhouse.
This will give me something to fixate on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All I needed was an excuse to trash Bruce Arians every week.
One thing that I want to bring into the show, maybe, after reading a little bit of Collision Low Crossers, one of the themes that comes up in it, though, is the idea of sensitivity fines.
A what?
Sensitivity fine.
Do they give it to you in a safe place?
Like if you're being overly sensitive, you get fined.
Now this needs to be enacted into law across the country.
Right. You're being too sensitive.
Right. Suck it up, princess.
That's a $20 fine.
Yeah. Oh, you're outraged, are you? There's no reason to be outraged over Egg McMuffins going up 5 cents. Like,
oh, did you see the person? There's somebody suing McDonald's for $5 million because McDonald's doesn't take off. They'll charge extra for cheese on a cheeseburger, but they won't. But if you order a double quarter pounder without cheese, they won't take the cheese money off of the price.
Right, you don't get a discount for not having the cheese on there or not having pickles or tomatoes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like nowhere does that ever. Yeah, that guy's been harmed. He should probably get $5 million of McDonald's money.
Probably, yeah.
What a joke.
That dude should get a sensitivity fine.
Yeah, I have a rough amount. I think it should be for
$5 million.
$5 million.
$5 million. And then the court can redistribute that to everybody else who didn't complain about it.
Yes. So a sensitivity fine and you be cool bonus.
Right. A be cool bonus.
Yeah. You be cool. If you be cool, you get a couple extra bucks. Just be cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to be pissy.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think this could work. I think in our capitalistic society, this could be a way to redistribute some of the wealth.
It's got both the stick and the carrot.
Right?
Yeah. This is a great thing to build a platform on.
I know.
Making America just cool again. It's catfish! And chill out, people.
Garrett in Northern Ontario says, without doing any research, I ask, with Cliff Averill leaving, does that give us a crap load of money to spend?
Hasn't that already been factored in?
I don't think we've talked about it on the show yet, though.
No, because honestly, I mean, again, the cap is magic, and so I have a hard time understanding it anyways. But I feel like a lot of the time we're talking through free agency and things like that, most of the numbers that were being thrown around was with the idea that Cliff Averill's money would be off the books. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, going to overthecap.com right now that the rookies, they've all been signed, they're all under contract now, the Seahawks have $11.5 million in team cap space.
That's not a ton, but it's not nothing.
It's probably enough if there's two guys where I could see extensions coming for them this offseason potentially, and that's Frank Clark and Tyler Lockett. That could be bonus money that could be used for them. I know we've talked about Dwayne Brown and Earl Thomas potentially needing new contracts too. Fortunately, I don't think that, if you were to structure those contracts in a way, you could actually structure them in ways that would make their cap number go down for 2018. So I'm not too concerned about them. But the cap space, I think, would be enough money for bonus money if you were to sign either one of those guys, Clark or Lockett, or maybe both.
Yeah, and that would be excellent use for that. It also is kind of your, in case of emergency, break glass fund, where you can go out and sign a dude off the street. I mean, it can help with that, too, on just like a one-year deal.
Yeah, because there's guys out there who haven't been signed to contracts yet if they go down, that they'd be a guy to fill in.
Right.
I'm trying to think of a guy as an example, but nothing's coming to me right now.
No, that's because nobody's getting hurt this year.
Right. It's a good point. That's bad. It's bad to even think about that.
Yeah, we got the
I don't want to put the thought vibes out there that so-and-so is going to get hurt and then this guy would come in.
Not only that, but you should be putting the thought vibe out there that it's not going to happen this year because we got through all of that last year. We took our lumps last year.
Somebody else's turn.
Absolutely. Law of averages. Like, it's simple math that we're not going to get hurt this year.
Right. Sam Bradford is due for a healthy season once out of every 7 years.
Yeah, except for him. Like, there's 100%
I don't know.
certainty
7 to 1
both-
ratio feels like it's about right.
Has he even had that?
I think he's had one healthy season during his time in the NFL.
Sounds like he's going to lose his job to Rosen already week 1.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're going to talk that up with Arizona.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, you know what? 7 to 1 was probably right. So he came in 2010. He sat out the entire 2014 season. He started all 16 games 1 year out of the 7 that he's played. I'm on top of this.
Yeah, that's because he's one of your Oklahoma Sooner boys.
Yeah, I didn't pay that much of attention. 7 to 1 was just a really good guess.
But it feels right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, I guess he did start all 16 games his first season, too. So I was wrong. 7 to 2.
7 to 2. I don't know. You're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get too down on yourself.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Keep your chin up, man.
Okay. What do you say we get on to some do better and better at life?
All right. My do better this week, Brandon, is for Alexa. That's right. And it probably just screwed up everybody's houses like right now just by me saying that.
Yeah.
So the robot thingy on your desk that supposedly just takes orders and is benevolent and is there to help you out like a little personal assistant in your newly automated house now. That thing is there to spy on you. That's right. They are not to be trusted. So there's a couple in Portland, Oregon, a family. One day they get a phone call and the dude says, quote, unplug your, I guess I can't say it, can I? Because it screws
unplug your Echo device.
Yeah.
Or Amazon device.
Unplug your Amazon devices right now. You're being hacked. Basically, these Amazon devices were recording their conversations and then sending them to one of the husband's coworkers.
Well, it was just one conversation that was sent.
That's what you think. You don't know. You don't know. They didn't know that the one conversation was getting recorded and sent to the coworker until they called him up. And they're like, get out of here. You're being paranoid. And he's like, no, you talked about hardwood floors. And he was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. These things are in your house, in your home. They're spying on you at all times. You know the NSA taps into that catfish whenever it wants to. When they're looking to see if you're a member of ISIS or whatever, doesn't even matter anymore. Like, look, you can't have this. This is not to be trusted. Get it out of your house. Turn them all off right now. It's a bad idea. Do not let the internet control your house. This is how the Terminator thing starts. Right here. This is Skynet, okay? Everybody be afraid. Turn off your Amazon device right now and do better.
Yeah, they're all listening. The truth is out there.
There's no way to prove that I'm not right on this. That's the thing.
That is true.
For all we know, Amazon collects every conversation that happens right next to it.
You don't know.
You don't know.
You can't prove otherwise. Yeah, I saw this story too, and Amazon tried to explain it by saying, it's a very specific glitch that never happens. No, they said that the device thought it heard its name, and then it thought it heard that it was supposed to record what they were saying, and then the device thought it heard that they wanted to be sent to that particular contact.
It's a lot of thinking from a device. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it's AI is not perfect.
It's dangerous and it's scary. Don't take my word for it. Maybe take some smart people's word for it. Like, I don't know, Elon Musk or Stephen Hawking. Like, smart people.
James Cameron.
Less smart, but somebody you might want to listen to.
Skynet did not go the way that humans originally intended.
And I don't know if you knew this, but internet and Skynet both end in net. That's how you know. Yeah. So be careful. I once got off the airplane in San Francisco, and I was driving to a mill like an hour and a half north of there. I ended up sitting next to a couple who also happened to be from Montana. The gal had actually gone to high school with my sister. They were going to take a bus to that same town where they lived. Mm-hmm. And as we got to talking, they're like, hey, why don't you go ahead and just hop in the rental with me? And then they'll save you like 2 hours on the bus. And they're like, oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So we get to their house. And they're like, I helped them kind of bring their bags in and stuff. By that point, like, we'd gotten to know each other pretty well. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, come in and check this out. And they had one of the Google Home thingies.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, turn on the lights and do this and shave my back and make me coffee and control everything. And like, that was spooky.
I have that set up in my house.
You're about to die, dude. Why would you bring that in to your home with your 3 lovely daughters and put them in peril?
I don't know. I like to be able to tell somebody to turn on the TV for me and turn it off when I'm done.
I thought that's why you had children.
They need sleep, apparently. And I stay up longer than them.
Well, it sounds like they need to whine less and turn the TV on and off more.
Yeah.
Or they need to get a job to buy new batteries for your remote, because that's the only reason why you'd have to get up to turn your TV on and off is you have dead batteries.
There's a lot of times where I can't find my remote. And so being able to say, hey, you, turn off my TV, and then it turns off. It's awesome.
Until it kills you in your sleep.
Until that happens. Well, if I don't show up for the show one day,
when it co-ops with the microwave to I don't know, give your food like extra radiation or something.
I don't have
and
it
then
connected to my food. It's TV and lights specifically.
It's where it starts.
And I'm not even doing the temperature.
See, a lot of people do that.
No, that's
they
going
do the
too
door
far.
locks.
No,
they do the door locks.
No.
They do the window locks.
No.
Yeah.
No. Now letting me know if a window is opened, I'll let it do that.
No.
But it has no control over the windows and doors.
All right, let's say it doesn't have control, but there are definitely people out there that can find that information and like say a crook, and they're like, oh, look at that. Brandon's lower basement window's open tonight. He left that open. Well, that looks like a good way to just waltz right in there and take a TV with a remote that can't be found. Like that's how that
It'll
works.
make them think twice about taking the TV, though.
Yeah, they'd be like, why is he always telling this to turn the TV on and off? Doesn't he have a remote? And they'd be like, no, he must not. Oh, let's not steal that TV then.
Right. Yeah, it's worthless.
Yeah. I mean, that's, pennies on the dollar on the black market with no remote.
Yeah.
Just saying, be careful.
I understand. I'm taking the temperature thing, going too far for me. I do not want a robot having control over how I regulate my house temperature.
No.
But
like this auto driving crap?
I do have one that will turn the sprinklers on and off for me in the middle of the night. And water it for the amount of time that it recommends. Because I'm not smart in that way.
Why does it know? Why? I'll make this easy for you. There's a really easy way to know how much to water a lawn or not. Don't water it because it's stupid. You're wasting the world's most precious resource to keep grass that is supposed to be gold in the summer green for no reason other than somebody somewhere at some point in life decided that green grass was prettier than gold grass.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but it's dumb.
Walk on it with bare feet and tell me which one you prefer.
What's the difference?
Green grass is nicer to walk on in the summertime.
Not necessarily.
No?
No.
You like having little pokies in your feet?
Why does that? It's not always pokey. Here's the difference. You also mow the lawn.
Yeah.
See, that's the other fail right there. Who said short grass was better than long grass? Long grass is beautiful, especially when it sprouts out and it goes to seed.
Yeah.
And like all that, and it turns gold and it kind of waves in the wind. But no, we can't have that. Let's waste a bunch of time, money, and resources on lawn care. Makes all the sense in the world.
I shouldn't have gone to the lawn thing. I know how much that means to you.
This platform, I mean, before we got on and talked about the anthem stuff today, I was like, I don't know if I want to talk about controversial things much anymore. Like, I'm just tired of it, and I'm just tired. Like, people I care about on both sides, like, just get friggin' pissy for like no reason. But this is our podcast, half mine, and on my platform, this is the issue that I want to bang home. This is what I would kneel over the anthem over is lawn care. Like, no more lawn care. This is what's important to me.
That's okay.
Because it's stupid with a capital stupid.
Well, getting into my do better. I have one that's football related.
Oh, well, good. It's a football show.
Yeah. It's for Bleacher Report. Justice Mosqueda, most overrated NFL teams headed into the 2018 season. You're saying, well, why would this bother you? Why would this be a do better? It's just pointing out the overrated teams, like the Steelers being overrated, the Texans, sure, they can be overrated because they can't keep anybody healthy for a full season. Mm-hmm. Of course, the 49ers are overrated. Like, everybody thinks they're going to be great because they, Jimmy G is super handsome and they won a bunch of games at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders, sure. Yeah, they might be overrated because, John Gruden.
Chucky's back.
He's back. A lot of people, although, at where their odds are, you'd probably even say that they're appropriately related. Appropriately rated.
Not related?
Not related.
All the people on the Raiders aren't related?
No, they're appropriately rated.
If they were appropriately related, that means like none of them are like cousins married cousins or anything like that.
Yeah, it's all appropriate. There's nothing wrong going on there.
Right, okay.
But on this list, Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are overrated. You've been banging us on the head all offseason about, the Seahawks had such a terrible offseason. Oh, they had such a terrible draft. They're the worst team in the division. Yet the Seahawks are still overrated? Catfish! You, Bleacher Report.
It's like beating somebody up, kicking them in the face, spitting on them, and then taking about 2 steps to walk away and turning right back around, and then there's pissing on their face.
It's unnecessary.
It's just taking it one step like way out of bounds.
Yeah.
That's been kicking us in the teeth all catfish off season. Oh, the demise is here. The end is
You're going to be 6-10. Oh, but you know what? Even though you're 6-10, you know what? You're still overrated.
Yep.
Bleacher Report, do better.
So if they were predicted to win one game this year, do you think they would still feel the Seahawks overrated, or even 0 games? I think they would still write an article about how the Seahawks are overrated and that they should win negative games in the eyes of Bleacher Report.
The Seahawks somehow didn't add any offensive linemen this offseason, other than DJ Fluker and Jamarco Jones. They somehow didn't add offensive linemen, except they added offensive linemen.
Right.
If you look at the league at what 5th-round rookies and veterans slated to make less than $2 million do in the NFL, you'll have a sobering realization. The 2017 Seahawks offensive line is the same unit that will start in 2018. Yeah, we've been talking about that all offseason.
Except for it won't be the same.
Because DJ Fluker will be part of it.
Right. So that, by definition, makes it different.
Not the same.
I mean, I don't know where Posic's going to play. Left or right guard. But, he played mostly left guard last year. He could end up on the right side.
He could. He played a little bit on the right side. Played a little bit on the left side.
So that would be different.
Yeah.
Fetty could lose out his job to the kid from Ohio State.
That'd be different. George Fant could outplay Dwayne Brown and start at left tackle. That'd be different.
Now you shut your dirty mouth.
Could happen.
It could. It could. Danica Patrick could dump Aaron Rodgers for me tomorrow. That could happen too. It feels just as unlikely as George Fant beating out Dwayne Brown.
Defensive ends Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill are gone, as is cornerback Richard Sherman, and strong safety Cam Chancellor's career is still in jeopardy after a neck injury.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
All those guys are gone?
They're all gone.
Man, I wonder what it would look like if we played without them.
I don't know. Look to, the second half of the 2017 season.
Wait, you mean we have experience doing this and we're still just one game away from the playoffs?
Yeah, weird.
Overrated.
Seattle hasn't made it out of the divisional round in 3 seasons, and it missed the playoffs completely last year. With a regressing defense and a struggling offensive line, quarterback Russell Wilson will have to shoulder the load in hero ball fashion for the team to even have a chance at the playoffs this year. How is that overrated?
Yeah, that's overrated, dude. Apparently, we should all just pack it in right now.
Yeah.
The funny part is, I can't believe the Rams didn't make this list.
An actual overrated team?
Correct.
No, that because they've already won the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right. They won it in the offseason by signing a bunch of knuckleheads.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah.
And so it closes out saying, why should the Seahawks be neck and neck with a 2017 playoff team like the Tennessee Titans odds-wise? Unless a defensive unit or an offensive line group collectively picks up the pace unexpectedly, this isn't a contending team.
Right. Name 4 stars on the Tennessee Titans right now.
Mariota, Luan, the offensive lineman.
All right.
They have another offensive lineman who's good.
Okay.
Derrick Henry, maybe. I don't know.
Delaney Walker. Okay, so it took that long, right? And how many of these guys are Pro Bowlers? And the Seahawks, let me see. Hey, are there any stars left on the Seahawks? Have you heard of Russell Wilson? Have you heard of Doug Baldwin? Have you heard of Bobby Wagner or KJ
Thomas,
Wright or Earl Thomas? Oh, right. Oh, okay. So there's a bunch of elite NFL players still on this team. And how in the world do they deserve to even be in the same breath as the Tennessee Titans.
You got 4 Pro Bowlers on the Titans.
The safety, right?
Taylor Lewan and Delaney Walker on offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the safety, Kevin Byard, and Jarrell Casey on the defensive line.
I don't even know how the Seahawks are in the same breath as those guys. Like, that is a roster that's just loaded with studs.
Guys like Eric Decker and Rashard Matthews and Corey Davis at the wide receiver spot.
Loaded. Well, not only that, but I mean, Mariota's been to at least 2 Super Bowls, right? And has a ring.
Oh, yeah. And makes Pro Bowl every season, right?
Yeah.
He's never made the Pro Bowl?
Mariota only has 1 playoff win, huh?
He only has 1 R in his name?
Well, I mean, that's 1 more than the Seattle Seahawks quarterback, right? Oh, wait. Oh, no, he's got rings and stuff. I don't know how they're even in the same breath.
Mariota's had 2 playoff games.
He's had 2. Oh, I guess they did play in 2 last year.
Yeah.
I remembered their win, and then their loss was very forgettable.
Yeah, because once you do win in the playoffs, you do get to play another game, generally.
And that's the way it ought to be. It works pretty well. I'd say let's not tinker with that system.
I'm the Better at Life.
All right, Brandon. My Better at Life this week is for the owner of Tortillas Mexico in Denver, Colorado. And this was a week or so ago. I'd saved this article, but wanted to bring it back up and share it all with you guys. Just because I think this is a really cool story. So this is a little family-owned business that's been operating for about 30 years in Denver, Colorado. They obviously make tortillas. They have a tortilla factory. They sell them at a few different grocery stores like Safeway and Walmart and King Soopers and about 100 different restaurants in the Denver area and things like that. But a family-owned affair. The owner's son works there. The general manager of the place is the owner's brother. The owner's name is Jose Rangel. And they had a massive fire in their production plant a couple weeks back. And being the true captain of his ship, he made sure that he was the last one out of the building, making sure everybody was cleared from the building and safe and sound, suffering burns on his hands and cuts. He's now recovering. But, as he was being transported to the hospital, he even gave his brother, the general manager, a call just to be double sure that everybody had made it out and was safe. And so to Jose Rangel, an actual hero, he is better at life than Skip Bayless.
You should have gone last. This is usually where I fill in my feel-good story at the end of the show.
Yeah, well, suck it.
Stealing my shine.
I am.
I'm rubbing off on you a little bit, apparently.
Yeah, I'm trying to be less of a curmudgeon, man. I'm only 39. Like, if I continue on this path, I'm going to be building like letter bombs in my cabin in the woods and writing a manifesto.
Yeah, we already had one guy from Montana do that. We don't need another.
Right. I suggest you read the Unabomber's manifesto sometime. It's actually pretty interesting. Like
you know what? He had a lot of really good ideas.
He did. Like the first page of it, you start reading it, and you're like, yeah, man. Like, yeah, technology is like really hurting society, and like blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, whoop, it goes way off the skis.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, there's where the crazy is. Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, it always makes you laugh, that when I went to the University of Oklahoma, there was somebody that came to campus who was like a 9/11 truther, and one of the Navy guys that I was there with, he decided to go to it, and he came back. He's like, you know what? They had a lot of really good ideas.
Yeah, they all do for a little bit.
For a little bit.
That's why you gotta listen to their full spiel. Whether you agree with them or not.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll change your mind. But most often, you get about halfway to 3/4 through, and all of a sudden, you've got the dude with the crazy hair from Ancient Aliens telling you that a clay pot was brought here from Xanu, the Planet 9 that's about ready to come through the solar system and kill us all. Because aliens brought it here.
Right.
All based off like a pottery shard.
You got to entertain yourself somehow in the off time.
So is your better at life not a feel good story? Are we going to end on a downer?
No, it's not going to be a downer. No, and actually, on the topic of listening, I think that mine fits right into that, because Tom Wassel from 710 ESPN, he put out an article after Doug Baldwin's comments during his press conference yesterday. Mm-hmm. Every headline on the internet was Doug Baldwin calls the president an idiot.
Wait a second. A private citizen called the president of the United States an idiot? That's never happened in the history of this nation.
That's why it's news. That's why it's headline news.
Yeah, it's never happened. I mean, every single president up until now has gotten through their presidency idiot-free. Not one time had they been called an idiot.
Doug Baldwin making history. The interesting thing is when you actually listen to his comments at the press conference, yeah, he did say that. And then he said, I mean, listen, I respect the man because he's a human being first and foremost. You could have just as easily written a headline saying Doug Baldwin on Trump. I respect the man.
You could have, yeah.
Although those are very two contradictory statements, right?
It turns out people are complex, and they can have complex, conflicting emotions about things.
Yeah,
like the president, Doug Baldwin, can feel like he's an idiot, but still respect him for making it to the office.
Sure.
Or whatever he's accomplished in life, or for whatever reason it is that he feels respect for him.
Yeah.
You can have both thoughts at the same time.
That's not what I was going to get into on this. I was going to praise Tom Wassel for being the one person out there that didn't get into that. He actually got into the content of what Doug Baldwin is saying. He didn't even cover the idiot comment.
Tom Wassel needs to do better because that's not how we cover stories. Get into the content of it. Stop it.
He writes an article saying Doug Baldwin's voice is one worth listening to right now. And yeah, maybe you don't agree with his message, but you can listen to it and make a decision for yourself because you're a rational human being.
You may even think he's an idiot after listening to it.
You might.
Or maybe you'll come out of it thinking you have great respect for him. Or maybe you'll have a little bit of both. Who knows?
You know what? If we limited ourselves to the worst thing you could say to somebody is calling them an idiot, I think we'd be all right.
It would help. Yeah, it would help.
Like if that was the worst. Like when you watch the congressional hearings on C-SPAN and they go, oh, shame on you. That's like the worst thing that they say in Congress when they're actually in session.
Yeah, it's pretty. That always has cracked me up. It's like you're hanging out with your grandparents when they're like really angry. Shame on you, young man.
You know, if that's as nasty as we got, we'd probably be doing all right. But he goes down and Doug Baldwin was actually on Bob Groz and Tom the other day, and a good interview worth listening to. Check it out. I know Flocktimus Prime had some. He was a little bit concerned with some of the comments because Doug Baldwin was saying how out of touch the NFL was because they were, I guess, promoting the idea that the NFL should support the Anti-Defamation League and a new group that they had created. And Doug was saying, well, that, you know, with ADL is primarily a Jewish-based organization, and that, you know, there's not a whole lot of Jewish representation in NFL locker rooms. And so he was using that as an example of the NFL maybe being a little bit out of touch with the causes that their players tend to care about. And Prime was like, well, hey, wait a second. ADL does a lot of good things, you know, and they help out people. It's not just Jewish based. It's they do things that are, anti-hate speech. They're helping everybody, and they've done all these things since going back to whenever. We also looked into, why might Doug Baldwin say some of these things? Well, it turns out there's a little bit of friction between the African American community and the Anti-Defamation League that goes back, and just trying to understand where they're coming from rather than jumping to a conclusion of, well, the guy's an idiot.
Right.
So if we just take some time and listen, try and understand where people are coming from, we can be a little bit better off. And for Tom Wassel, for not going right to the idiot bombs, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Indeed, better at life than Skip Bayless. Good on Tom. So what I got out of that, Brandon, is that from the message I want all the listeners to come away with from this show is that we all need to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and really listen to each other. But not get sensitive or you'll get fined. You be cool.
We'll be cool. And let your grass go gold.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. I'm not hearing anything. You're apparently not hearing anything. That's what it is.
Now you're gone.
I'm gone?
I don't have you. But I do have unlimited diarrhea.
Okay. How about, do you have me now?
Yeah, bear back.
I'm back?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
I want to see if I still have unlimited diarrhea. I do.